research integrated ChatGPT, scholarly communication, generative AI, even teaching is absolutely critical, very important. We are having new tools developing every day, and you got to also familiar with that. But at the same time, it is your responsibility to how to use them effectively and responsibly. So first few minutes, I'm going to spend some time on introducing to the concept of plagiarism. I'm sure everybody knows it, but I have to tell them, I have to tell you certain things that I think you should be aware of. Then we'll talk about generative AI, research integrity, and then we'll have some actual examples that I have used to show where the problems could arise. So let's go to the next slide.
Yes.
And this is some brief abstract, which I'm not going to go and read through it. You can read it on their own. But there are a couple of things I also want to introduce, and that is the concept of research integrity and scientific misconduct. And what is happening is the recent years, a lot of researchers, even after graduating from universities and getting their PhDs, were involved in fabricating the data and publishing it, and they were all caught. And that could really create a lot of problems, not just for students themselves, but also for the universities. And we don't want that to happen. So it's better to get aware of all this in the beginning of your student life, in the beginning of your career. Some of you might go end up doing your PhD and become professors, researchers in well-known universities, or even in corporations. We have many PhD students have gotten jobs in corporate environments as well. Let's go to the next slide. So we will be talking from the perspective of authenticity within the framework of teaching, learning, research, and then we end up with AI in scholarly communication. Go to the next slide. And if you go to this link, which is from Drexel University's website on academic integrity resources, I just captured a few snapshots from here and focus in highest academic integrity. And we don't want anyone to be involved with plagiarism, cheating, fabrication, and academic misconduct. We have a lot of students, they are taking classes, they work in teams, as in group. It doesn't mean that you can just copy and paste each other's homework. When you do that, it is kind of plagiarism, and we are caught. There could be a lot of penalties, and all of this is spelled out at this website, and strongly encourage you to go and refer to it. Go to the next slide. And important thing is all our teachers, our professors, even your advisors want you to do some original work. They want to see your original thoughts and ideas and how you present them in your homeworks or even papers. So especially from the engineering, sciences, CCI, all that areas, you need to understand the concepts. You just cannot memorize things and then expect to succeed in your homeworks and assignments. So cheating is forbidden, reusing a paper is forbidden. There are a lot of websites where you can actually buy a paper and submit, and that is strictly prohibited. Next slide. So it's important to understand what you're learning. When you are asked to explain things, you should be able to explain it and present it in your way, and you won't be able to do it if you have not mastered the concepts and your own words. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going to go this little quickly. I think you had this repeated. Anyway, let's go to the next slide. Citing information, providing references, very important. If just keep in mind that if you have used somebody else's information, you must give credit to the source of information. You just cannot copy and paste. There are certain rules in terms of how many words even you can have it together, maybe 7 or 8 words together, but not more than that. And all these rules are specified. So just think that way, that if you write a poetry and you publish it on Facebook or social media, and if you see that your poetry is being forwarded to all the different channels and you don't see your name on it, how would you feel yourself? That my work has been just used by everybody and nobody's giving credit to myself. Same way, even in research and teaching environments. Let's go to the next slide. Why do I need to cite? Let's go to keep on here. And what I'm saying here is, if you are using direct quotes, then you use quotation marks and you include your reference. Do not use quotation marks, but still cite if you are summarizing or paraphrasing. Go to the next slide. So you're writing a summary on your own words, but you are using somebody's idea. In that case, also you must give a citation to that source. And if you are using writing a research paper using IEEE style, they have their own way of citing IEEE papers. And we have access to IEEE Explore, and we can come back to it later when we are talking about that. Let's go to the next slide. Paraphrasing, summarize, and provides facts that are not common knowledge. So if there is a statistical data, we are talking about numbers, and that number is coming from a certain government websites like Department of Energy, for example, or US Census, that information needs to be cited. Let's go to the next slide. And so these are two examples. One, the first example directly quote, you will see the quotation mark and you will see the reference below. And the same thing, but that is a summary, but we are still using the same reference. So a quotation mark versus summary. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So citations are enough. Citations must be accompanied by a bibliography of sources, the references that comes at the end of your paper, especially writing a research paper which is an abstract, introduction, methods, calculations. You're presenting all that in a research paper, but then you're also including within text citations and the references in the end. And if you download a paper from IEEE, for example, you will see how the paper is structured. So you make sure that you follow those guidelines. Let's go to the next. You must cite all types of sources if you are using a book, website, even you're working on a collaborative project in which you have interviewed somebody from a corporation, expert in from a company, you need to include that reference. And we have many citations tools like EndNote, Zotero, all of them have those fields where can you cite and interview with a particular expert. Okay. Most important thing, do not list sources that you have not read. When in doubt, cite your source. And most importantly, when you're citing a reference, you're avoiding plagiarism. And I'll give you a very interesting story that happened that I have experienced here some years back. Let's go to the next slide. So when in doubt, cite your source. Go to the next. And these are just, while we are adding the reasons, I'm describing that really interesting event that happened about a few years ago. The 4 or 5 students, graduate students, and they came to my office and they said, we need your help because our professor is saying that you have plagiarized the paper and we are getting an F. So that happens after they had submitted paper and the grade was given. So I had no idea how they wrote the paper. So I asked them to send me the paper. They came to my office and we were exploring it. And first thing I noticed was they have 120 references in the end. So I asked them in the 10-week class, were you able to read all those 120 references? They said no. How many of you have used? Maybe 10. So why did you cite all 120? That was the first question. Second thing, I searched and found that there's whole research paper I found published in a journal, and the article had exactly the same number of 120 references in that journal. And then we did some analysis using Turnitin software. It captured almost like 85% compact content of that paper was plagiarized. So I couldn't help, even though my intention was to help, but I don't know what else I could do because the evidence was right there. So we don't want you to end up in that situation because it is creating a bad impression about the students as well as, and especially, of course, we don't want you to develop that habit of plagiarism. That's why this portion, I just wanted to highlight in the first 10 minutes, and then we'll go to more interesting aspect that I think we'll enjoy. So you can create it yourself, you are acknowledging others' ideas, you are receiving credit for what you have done, and also especially the graduate student and PhD environment by publishing your paper or even presenting your paper or on a conference, you're opening up a dialogue and interaction. And that collaboration partnership is absolutely becoming very important, especially when you're working on a grant, you're applying for a grant from National Science Foundation or NIH. We are looking at interdisciplinary collaboration partnerships across the globe sometimes. So we have people all over the world working together, even at Drexel, and allow the readers to find your information. And most importantly, that we will see using citation style correctly helps you avoid plagiarism, whether it is IEEE style, whether it is something else that you are using, as long as you are using that style, you are putting your references within the tags, including the references in the end is very, very important, right? So we'll keep that in mind. Let's go to the next slide. And the scientific misconduct. We briefly touched base how the scholarly research papers were published using fabricating images and data, and we don't want to happen to that. And again, highlighting this from our university's website. Let's go to the next. So when we are talking about research integrity, can we find out how many papers are there published in different journals that talk about scientific misconduct, or can we find research papers related to scientific misconduct using different platforms? Now we have access to Web of Science database from Clarivate, and it's one of the top database. And if you go to the library homepage, databases by A to Z, and you click on Web of Science, you'll see it. And it is one of the most powerful database to find scientific research papers. So I used some examples like scientific misconduct integrity, and you will see a lot of literature has already published. So go to the next slide. So you'll see. So this is an example of a screenshot from Web of Science database, and I use scientific fraud and research integrity as my keywords, and I'm pulling up a lot of papers. And we have access to all of these papers. So you can generate data in your own mind by looking at this. And what I'm trying to highlight here is being responsible yourself. As a student in a good university like us, you must be involved with a responsible content. And you feel proud of yourself when you do something on your own, and you feel so much happy and satisfied that this is my own work and you take pride on it. That's what we want you to do. Go to the next slide. And this is another example with a citation in a 2021 paper where scientific integrity matters big research paper was published at that time, and how it is scholarly research is coming into question. And I'll give you another example, as everybody is aware and gone through the most difficult period in our lives during the COVID period. And you won't believe, around that time, we used to get questions from our researchers and faculty members at 3 a.m. at night, as they were trying to build something like safe protective equipment for people having COVID, or even designing masks or whatever, even vaccine research. They wanted to have access to standards that they want to apply to make sure that what they are designing and developing is safe to protect the people all over the world. So Drexel's contribution, you may not even realize how much they have done, our scientists and researchers here, while we were going through it. But at the same time, a lot of research was happening. It was being published in preprints, and they started National Library of Medicine called preprint server for COVID. COVID lit, they call it. And what was happening at the time that because the idea was, if you do the peer review, it was taking too much time, because by the time it was reviewed and get published, 6 months, 8 months, And this was to save human lives. It was very critical to something evolve rapidly fast. So the preprint server started, but then while that has its own advantages, the disadvantage was that some people manipulated information, and someone wanted to say that the masks are not helpful. It is even creating more COVID cases. Um, so they posted a paper about it, and it started proliferating all over. And that is also not good. That should not happen. So these kind of things we want to educate you about. Be careful. Let's go to the next slide. And research integrated scientific misconduct. This is for the National Institute of Health website. Honesty, accuracy, efficiency, objectivity are shared values in scientific research, and they must be maintained. Let's go to the next. And that resulted in a concept called retraction watch. Very interesting. What happens is, suppose I publish a paper using some of your data. I say that this is my own data and I'm publishing it. And it got published. The reviewers didn't find it. They couldn't catch that what I did was wrong. In today's world, what is happening is you have alerting mechanisms. So every researcher who publishes a paper creates an alert. So every time their paper gets cited or similar topic comes, they're going to say. So you probably came across my paper and you saw that I have copied your data or plagiarized your paper, data, fabricated it. So I get upset. Then I contact the editors of those journals and then complain about it. Then the whole investigation process starts. And if it is found out, and if it is proven that yes, I did copy that data, what happens is that paper is then retracted. So that is what the retraction means. And that is tremendous impact for your career, because if someone else want to collaborate with you in a research paper and they see that my paper was retracted, they are not going to collaborate with me again. So there's a lot of impact, and that was what is still happening today. There's a database called Retraction Watch database that is growing so fast. So many such things are happening all over the world. So these are the retraction guidelines. Data fabrication is identified and the paper is withdrawn. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Loss of credibility. Let's go to the next slide. Competent publications. Same thing, but these are actually coming from publication ethics website. So very valuable, responsible information presented. Unethical research, why we should not do it. Let's go to the next. This, I'm sure that you know Elsevier, very important database. We have access to their papers, Science Direct through that platform. Elsevier is one of the top publishers. We have access to their journals. We have access to their database called Engineering Village, which goes back to 100 years of engineering research, 1894, something like that. And also, we have access to thousands of electronic books called through the platform called Novel. So electronics, electrical engineering, physics, chemistry, even cybersecurity, those kind of ebooks are available through that platform. So that is Elsevier. And they have their own policies for article withdrawal and retraction. So you can go, if you are learning more about it, if you want to learn more about it, you can explore this on the website. Let's go to this example. Next. And they are, again, what I say they are explaining in this paragraph. Let's go to the next slide. I want to focus more later on our ChatGPT part. In 2018, this retraction watch database was launched. And you might want to explore that at that time, even 6 years back, it had a database for more than 18,000 papers that have been retracted. And that number is growing every day. So you have thousands of universities all over the world, a lot of researchers publishing paper, a lot of students want and fight because of tenureship and competition, and they rely on unethical means, and they're caught. And they are not only making themselves punished, but they are impacting the fabric of society, because if they do something wrong, and if something wrong happens, if people keep on dying because of something that was not done right, it's not the people's fault, right? So it's very important that we should rely and be responsible with what we do here. Let's go to the next. And this is how you can research in this retractiondatabase.org, and you will find a lot of papers and things that have already been retracted. It's daily updated. Let's go to the next slide. And an example of plagiarized Lancet article. This was very recently in the on the website. It's not just this is I don't have the date on it, but I know this is the most recent when I prepared this presentation. Let's go to the next slide. And you can use any of these keyword like article retracted, scientific fraud, sloppy research. You will pull up a lot of papers, even from Google Scholar. Let's go to the next slide. And here is I'm using Google Scholar to find retracted articles. Let's go to the next slide, and you will see at the beginning of the paper, you will find retracted article. And while looking at this, it should warn you. When you're writing your homework or research paper and you see the citation, you should not use that reference because it is a retracted paper. And there is it can be a falsified data. Let's go to the next. And again, explanation of why this paper was retracted is highlighted here. An investigation by the publishers found a number of articles, including this one, with a number of concerns, including but not limited to compromised editorial handling and peer review process, inappropriate or irrelevant references, or not being in scope of the journal. So these are a lot of issues that they discovered, and the paper, although published in a good journal at that time, considered to be, it was retracted. Let's go to the next slide. And in Science Direct, also you can search like this article has been retracted. And I'll give you a couple of examples here next. Let's go to the next slide. The retraction notice is given, and for this paper, let's go to the next slide. It was a journal from Optical Materials in 2023. So even retraction happening at that time. This article has been retracted at the request of the authors and institutions, as the research was published without the required approvals of the responsible authorities, where the work was carried out and therefore did not comply with both institutional policy and Polymer's own policies for publication. The journal was Polymers at the time. It's a very well-known journal in the field in material science and materials engineering. Let's go to the next slide. And this example, it says the paper is retracted for the author's request because it was concurrently published in two different journals due to the author's misinterpretation of the journal publishing policy. Many journals have policies like you cannot publish and submit paper in the same article in two different journals, and it was captured. So this article was retracted. Let's go to the next. And just imagine you see a journal article, you have published the paper, your paper gets retracted, and each of the page has this like a big red letters retracted. Just imagine about your reputation all over the world. It's not good. So be careful. Do not plagiarize. Do not copy and paste. Do not manipulate data. These are all issues. And with ChatGPT, that is what our next topic. It is becoming a more critically important. So that's why I'm highlighting this and connecting it to generative AI. Let's go to the next. So generative AI implications for teaching and research. So before I go to the next point, how many of you have used generative AI? Almost all of you, right? ChatGPT, Bing, and for what purpose did you use? Anyone?
For coding.
Huh?
For coding.
Coding. So you captured the code and used it?
Not fully, while you're finding any difficulty while converting a string to a number or something like that.
So, and did you submit the code to the class in the exam? Feel free.
Yes,
This is
yes,
the honest, open communication, right? We want to be learning, engaged, and
yes,
informal, right?
Yep. Yes.
So, yeah.
used it to edit my papers.
Mhm.
It gives pretty good suggestions on that.
Yes, but you're not using the same. You can still manipulate your own things. You find something interesting, but you can still refine and then write it. It's good, and I have done it too, especially when I was writing an abstract. I got some really good suggestions. So, in some ways, AI is extremely good and take advantage of it. But we are going to also explore some issues with it, and you'll see how. Let's go to the next. Um, so these are some really good things about ChatGPT when it came out in 2022. And believe me, our libraries and our academics and universities across US all over had to start rethinking about their curriculum, how to assess student papers, making sure that students are writing the original stuff. And if you look at university's website and the provost office, you will see the whole structure of assessment for students if for generative AI. But it can help you create text, statistical analysis, lyrics, computer programs, and so on. And one thing I really to mention is generative AI is evolving so fast, right? So if I am doing this presentation and if 6 months after I do this, my presentation will be a lot different because I'll have to incorporate a lot of new changes into that. Right. So some of that's why I did a presentation about this 6 months ago. And today I was doing it, I found so many different things. So I really had to change the screenshots when you look at ChatGPT and Bing, for example. Let's go to the next slide. These are good points about generative AI. You can really help in brainstorming. You're learning how to prompt, engineering prompt analysis. The better the prompt, better the response could be. So these kind of great things because it is helping us to collaborate and ask questions and interact and engage. You're learning how to really ask good questions. The process of research, writing, organizing, we all mentioned that help to improve their papers. I know a couple of students mentioned to me that they have used generative AI to write a good resume for job applications, cover letters. It's a great way to definitely that are helpful. I'm not saying that, but you have to be aware of that certain things that you are to be very careful about. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So again, I'm saying there's concerns about how do you justify that what you're finding through generative AI is accurate, authentic, genuine? How do you know that, right? So quality-wise, and ChatGPT and all that has resulted in some detection of papers also. That we talked about detection, misconduct, and so on. Let's go to the next slide. This particular journal article, while ChatGPT is an interesting paper, a tool, it can bring some ethical issues about integrity and authorship. Authors have responsibilities about authorship, and we covered committee on publication ethics website earlier. And this paper by published in 2023 that says requirements that cannot be fulfilled by crediting authorship to ChatGPT or other AI tools as they are not legal entitlements. What was happening, even this happened here, in the earlier months of ChatGPT, in the 6 months, we have seen students writing references as ChatGPT as an author. You have, but ChatGPT is not a human being. So how can you write as an author? And just imagine if you're using a Web of Science and if you're giving a reference, can you put it in your reference that I'm referencing a ChatGPT paper? Where is ChatGPT? How, if I want to ask being a responsible person, if I want to connect with an author and send me, requesting me to send some data, can I do the same thing to ChatGPT for the same data that was referred? It's going to be very tough, right? So these are some issues. Let's go to the next slide. And first, we already talked about in details. And this is some paragraph from the same paper and also from the Office of Drexel's Conduct of Research Policy. Considering any declaration of the contribution of ChatGPT to writing and scientific articles should be recognized as publishing misconduct immediately and can be retracted. And that was also published in 2023. Now, again, I'm saying that a lot of things can change. So don't fix this as a face value, but these are certain things that you consider. And policies may change and different publishers are working on the policies and all those. So keep an eye, keep current with all these new publisher policies. Go to the next slide. Okay. Scientists use ChatGPT to generate an entire paper from scratch. Is it good? So this was another study published in July of 2023. If you click on this link, this was published in Nature. So, you know, researchers can engage in fields honest practice such as something like this. Greater usage of AI tools in research papers, otherwise it will be difficult to assess whether a study's findings are correct. And next two slides are screenshots from this. No, I guess I removed those. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, because I want to give real actual focus. From the perspective of teaching and learning and research, I'm covering these two tools and actual queries based on a course assignment. Using queries from the scholarly communication perspective, for example, research integrity, scientific research possibilities, and using ChatGPT 3.5 and Big Open. Again, I've only used the free version. How many of you are using the paid version of ChatGPT? Anyone? Do you see any difference between the free version and the paid version? Can you highlight a couple of new things that you found in the paid version that is not in the free version?
I can find it more accurate in the paid version than the free version. You can upload files.
You can upload files. Mhm. In accuracy from what perspectives?
File, but research article.
Uh-huh.
So in the paid version would be more reliable information from trusted sources rather than file.
Did it take you to Drexel Libraries research papers? No, that is what I'm talking about. Let's see. Go to the next. Does it go to Drexel Library and searches the website to find the published research papers? That is what I want you to explore. And if you find something, please do let me know because I'm also learning and I also want to update my presentation. And I'm going to recommend our, yeah.
So do you have sometimes scientific sources?
But yeah, I have seen that. But have you compared those actual sources that you see are authentic sources, or it is making up sites? That you want to investigate also. Okay, so we'll see it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is a query I wanted. This is an actual course where students were working on sustainability, climate change, and all that. So I wanted papers about impact of climate change of natural events such as hurricanes, cyclones, flooding in different countries. And I'm asking them specifically to ChatGPT and BI both that I want you to search in Science Direct database to find those papers. So let's see what happens. In free version, this is what I got. Let's go to the next slide. I can't read, you may not be able to read from back, but I'm reading it. I can't, this is the ChatGPT response. I can't directly access database or on the internet, including Science Direct in real time to search for these articles. But however, I can help you guide. So then it is helping me to guide the papers. Because ChatGPT free version did not have access to Science Direct that the library has. So if you are going to rely on only on this, how do you know that you have actually done an in-depth search? Right, so that is what I'm having a lot of issues myself. And that's what, if you are using the paid version, I really like your help and work together with me and really explore this. And I'm going to also suggest our libraries to have some paid version for us to explore, because it does require a lot of going in-depth exploring, comparing, analysis like that. So we'll see what happens. Let's go to next. I did the same search in Bing, and it comes up, again, this is something new. When 6 months ago I did, that was completely different in Bing. And now I'm getting three options here, like creative, choose a conversation style which is creative, more balanced and precise. So did anyone try any one of those different styles in Bing? No, so I strongly encourage you to do this as an just for fun exploring. Try different options, see what you get, same question, compare those responses or differences, right? Any point?
Like, I try to use it. If I want something like more precise answers or something like that, if I'm trying coding or something like that, I would go with the precise version so that it gives me accurately. So I have to create, like, if I want to work on my cover letter or something like that, I'll go on the creative side and then I'll.
Okay, great. But when you're using for a class about your code, how do you submit your assignments that you created code using Bing, for example?
I'll not take the, like, I'll not use the entire code, I'll just, uh, if I start with any particular function or something like that, I'll just, put
Use-
the query and then error, which I gave, so that,
Because check with your professors, because some professors have different guidelines about using it.
yeah, like, my professor says, like, if I use ChatGPT or something like that, I have to show the entire chat history to him so that.
Yeah.
it gets-
Yeah, so follow those guidelines, very important. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So now, this is what I got from Bing. And I'm going, again, a lot of things in this category, but I just here, you can explore these articles further to gain insights in the impact of climate change on extreme weather events. And then it is telling me some website here, the government websites. But remember, the question I asked was the peer review. I want a journal article from Science Direct. And it is started giving nature.com, globalchange.com, sciencedaily.com. None of these sites mention Science Direct. So it does give me some information, but it is not understanding my question. It's not going in Science Direct. Okay, let's go to the next slide. These articles are just a starting point. Full articles for your institution's library. That was another comment that gave me. It is telling me to go to your institutional library and find those papers. Learn more. These are references not from Science Direct. That is what I just mentioned. Let's go to the next slide. The next question I asked was, download a peer-reviewed scholarly paper on how space junk is impacting future space missions. And this is another very practical topic of research in Drexel's mechanical engineering department, where some of our aerospace engineers are working on eliminating space junk in this wars, how they can reduce it, because it is creating a big problem for future space missions. Let's go to the next slide. And here, again, this is from ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is the best part. It provides this telling me to go to Google Scholar, ResearchGate, JSTOR, Archive, JSTOR, and Science Direct. It says these platforms require institutional access for many articles, but offer a wide range of peer-reviewed articles. So it is telling them to go to JSTOR and Science Direct. We have subscription to both, but it is not going in those to find papers. Right, and then it says, if we are affiliated with an educational institutions, its library often subscribes database like IEEE Explore. Yes, we have that. Springerly, yes, we have that. Widely online libraries also have access to those. And conference process. So what is it telling me? I am searching in ChatGPT and generative AI, but the generative on the contrary telling me to go to the library and use library subscription databases, right? That is what generative response. Let's go to the next slide. And I'm just putting this in big. If we are affiliated with the education institutions, its library offers subscribe to databases like IEEE, Springer, Wiley, which offer access to journals and conference proceedings. So essentially what it means, generative AI could not find a whole paper from these databases, and it is asking me to the libraries subscription. So what this implies to you? that these databases have so much of content that is still not available to generative AI, at least at this stage. So what that means, that if you are just using everything you get through generative AI, you are not doing a complete research. And you have to go through these subscriptions. So that is the major point I'm trying to come across in this session. Let's go to the next slide. Now the big response to the same, I am sorry, but I am unable to download files or provide direct downloads. However, I can guide you to some peer-reviewed scholarly papers and how space junk is impacting future space missions. Again, there are some website they are mentioning, and these are the website. This is they are citing papers.ssrn.com. This is a preprint server, not a peer-reviewed journal site. And I have also a paper in that because one of my paper on preprints got published and they put it there. And preprints is another big innovation happening in the publication field. mdpad.com is included, and MDPI I know was involved with some kind of military publications on those days. So they are citing content from some not so good websites, I think. And none of them has journal articles from the databases that I thought it should go. But the problem is, if the publishers not allow their content to be indexed by generative AI, then what are they going to do? And why would publishers not allow? That brings to the economics of information. Now, access to IEEE we have, right? Can anyone guess how much it costs for us to subscribe to IEEE? So I know I have talked to a couple of students. Please don't say most students which they talk to them about. But any guess what? 5,000, 20,000, $1, $100,000. I'm talking about annual costs for IEEE. It is costing us $160,000 a year for IEEE explore. And this is just one of hundreds of databases that we have access to. Wave of Science we briefly mentioned. Again, it is more than $100,000. Approximately, our libraries spend close to $4 to $5 million every year for the information that is available to university websites. Just think about it. So it's very expensive information, but our systems department and we are all trying to design in such a way that you have seamless access to that content just by you put your Drexel like authentication and you have access to it. Now, multiple authentication, like you have to go, you see a code and you echo it. Right? Many of these must have complained. Why I have, how many of you have not complained that this I'm getting all the time, have to echo it, multi-factor authentication. I'm sure you just bother something. You know why that happened? Again, I'm talking about this is like 4, 5, 6 years back. Somewhere in some countries, they created some system that were able to go directly into university library system, access those papers, download them, and they start selling them. So, and that, I'm now telling you the name of that organization. It's called Sci-Hub. Has anyone heard about it? And when you go to Sci-Hub, you get paper, put paper, and they have no idea what was happening and everything. But they have captured content in images. So, and even at Drexel, there were some attempts. They started downloading hundreds of paper quickly from IEEE into the website. So they had to do something about it. So that is how one solution was not effective. It is not just Drexel. Many universities are going to face it now. So when you see something from Sci Hub, be careful whether think about yourself. What is my responsibility? Whether I should support them or not. Yes, you were getting free information, but it got cost. Overall cost was so huge for the publishers in everyone. So now you have that information here. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is using Novel, KNOVEL database. Again, that is published by Elsevier, like Science Direct. But Novel is different in the sense that it has access to thousands of ebooks, mainly encyclopedias, handbooks, and we are looking for electrical properties or material properties. In designing a system and you want to use certain materials, you want to know which materials should fit, which are both cost effective, safe, and sustainable. So that kind of data is found in Novel. So I asked this question, using Novel, find mechanical properties of titanium, for example. And then ChatGPT says, I cannot directly access database of external sites like Novel in real time. I can provide you with general overview of the mechanical properties of titanium. And now it gives me some properties, but it doesn't tell me where these properties came from. So how do I justify here myself? So check, again, the free version did not give, but I don't know whether the paid version would give the reference in ChatGPT. I want you to look at it. And I want to see what reference they are giving to. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So now, same question in Bing, and it tells me about Novel titanium alloy database. It provides that information, right? And it gives you this, but it doesn't tell me within Novel titanium alloy database where this information is found. There is no citation to it. And there's some more like matmatch.com or spacematdb.com and coming up here. But I don't know whether these sites are reliable or not. How do I know? I have not heard about those sites. So your homework is don't blindly use any citation or reference. Make sure that you look at where the information is coming from and whether these sites are actually reliable or not. Very important. Okay, let's go to the next slide. What are the implications? No mention for where these properties are obtained. Are they real values? What if students cite those properties and they're not correct? Will their final project be valid? Who is the author? Citations. You need to critically evaluate the credibility of resources, author credential, authentic information. Library guides of citation workshops, things are now critical. And we have all of these on our website. And I want to give you one more example, very interesting example I did 3 months ago when I did the first presentation. At that time, I said that I want to design a drone that could fly from Mount Everest and come down. And lot of different things, all the generative AI tools at the time were confused. They started giving some great responses, but I couldn't figure out whether they were talking or not. And I want to ask the same question again and see what response I can get, because it is completely changing, evolving, and we need to constantly keep up to date with those. Let's go to the next page. And I'm sure you are aware of Google Alerts, right? Are you using Google Alert system? You can create a search query in Google Alert, and every time something new comes up, you will get notification. So these are on April 5, 2024. So it's most recent, just 5 days back. It came I created an alert for ChatGPT. And the first thing that came, study ChatGPT get confused when confronted with good evidence. I didn't read the whole paper. World first study has found that when asked a health-related question, the more evidence given to ChatGPT, the less reliable it becomes. Okay. Apple finally has a way to defeat ChatGPT, digital twins. And a new research paper reveals that Apple has been quietly working on an LLM solution of its own and already beats ChatGPT. Okay, fine. But I'm just giving you some alerts, even if you go to the whole article, you actually see what it is. Is AI racially biased? Study finds chatbots with black sounding names differently. And that is published in USA Today. Advisors know ChatGPT, but that does not mean they trust AI financial planning or again. So just a screenshot of the four. Let's go to the next. And there's some good things too. ChatGPT Enterprise quadruples user numbers in first quarter as OpenAI targets software use. So evolving fast. OpenAI offers instant access to ChatGPT fuel, expanding adoption. ChatGPT plans to automate your busy work. More Americans are using ChatGPT, but don't trust it for election information. Well, so different things. Complexity and nuances of AI. ChatGPT stumped by nuanced health queries, report shows. Let's go to the next slide. And then I use something, another keyword, curriculum and generative AI implications for teaching, transforming education, AI-powered personalized learning evolution. A year after launching, ChatGPT is already changing medicine. Online on campus, journalists top business schools offers the best of both. Yes, the solution is the best of both, in my opinion, and so on. So finally, what I'm trying to say here is use ChatGPT, use AI, but be careful in how you use it. Be responsible and don't assume everything. This one is the next slide. Final words. Excellent tool for time and cost saving, writing quality content, generating codes, improving skill sets. Totally relying on it can create many problems and ultimately can damage person's credibility. That is why it's better to use it wisely and not change others. And that was another 2023 paper. Let's go to the next. And we can, so respect peer review, very important. Use AI tools such as ChatGPT wisely, responsibly. These tools will continue to evolve. Use them wisely and be aware of ethical issues. Keep updating your knowledge of such tools. I will need to update myself as well. And I think that was the last slide in this presentation. Let's go to the next. Yeah, there are references I haven't read. You might want to refer to those papers. Next slide. And all libraries YouTube channel. And the second link is all my webinars that I did on the library's YouTube channel. You can find them. It's about 15 or 20 webinars. You say. Okay, thank you so much. And let's have some conversation, I guess.
Thank you, Professor. I really insight from this discussion. Very really helped us to write presentation.
Thank you.
For assignment also. So I'm very thankful to introduce our IEEE chapter, Grad chapter. So when we start the chapter, so feel free to join us. So then we have a quick talk about the IEEE Grad events and our vision and what are your considerations.